It's 9 o'clock. I would like to open the open elections board meeting. It's Tuesday, 9:01 a.m., January 3rd, 2017. First, I'd like to introduce the people here at the table. It's Ron Kaler is the town clerk. I'm Steve Schoaf, supervisor. Stanley Spencer is the longest acting trustee. Robin Robertson is the township highway commissioner. Corey Wells, state representative Brad Halbrook, and Liz Norn, our attorney. We've just received a document here that, first of all, Liz.
So procedurally,
Mr. Chairman, is there an agenda?
Yes, there is.
I would
it's been posted.
Can we have a copy of it?
Sure. There's one right behind you there, on the wall.
This one right here? Okay, let me look at this real quick. Mr. Chairman, I don't see any provision or agenda item on here to adopt rules to conduct the meeting. If you like, the statute 10 ILCS 5/10-10, the electoral board on the first day of its meeting shall adopt rules of procedure for the introduction of evidence and presentation of arguments. And I don't see that.
There aren't any, no.
And did you request to be placed on the agenda?
The agenda is up to you guys.
Right, but
The objector, that's you guys to do that.
right, but I just want to confirm that you did not request to be placed on the agenda to present any motions or anything of that nature.
The statute says on the, let me reread that for you one more time. The electoral board on the first day of its meeting shall adopt rules. Okay, so that helps us lay that out as far as who's on the agenda, what evidence, who can speak, who can ask questions, vice versa. And that's why that's important to adopt those rules on the first meeting.
So you did not ask to be placed on the agenda?
No, I did not, because I don't know the rules. That's what I'm asking about, is the rules.
Our first meeting was last week. We did not adopt any rules at that time.
That wasn't a meeting, it shut down, it wasn't a legal meeting.
That's
And it
correct.
wasn't properly posted, so.
That's correct.
It was an initial meeting that we then granted the request to have it continued, and then we posted the agenda and the notice of the meeting.
It
That's
wasn't a
exactly
meeting.
what
wasn't
It
continued.
wasn't posted, it could never have been a meeting.
I understand that.
That meeting did not exist, and it still doesn't.
Continuance would indicate a recess. That wasn't recess, that was,
So what are you asking? Are you asking for us to
I'm
repost an
asking you to
agenda
follow-
with rules?
No, I'm at, yes. Yeah, it says on the first day, we adopt the rules. Okay, it's not on the agenda item. You can talk about the rules, but you can't take action on the rules at this meeting because it's not on the agenda.
Okay, so then we can repost notice with a new agenda, and we'll have a meeting in 48 hours.
So that's Thursday at what, about 9:15?
We'll have to post it, we'll let you guys know. It'll be posted. Just because right now it's 9:05, so I don't know that we can do them in 9 minutes. That's why I didn't want to lock in a 9:15 time.
Alright. Guess we shouldn't have drove all the way over here.
Is there anything else that you want to point out to us as it relates to the posting or the meeting, so that we don't come back
Well, I
and
believe
do
there
any
is a
technical
timeline,
deficiencies?
I believe there is a timeline of 3 to 5 days that puts the objection to Mr. Wells outside that timeline.
Right, and I read that in your petition. The two
Right.
issues with that, of course, are, number one, we could have set it over quicker than we did, but we wanted to accommodate Mr. Wells' schedule, which he asked us to accommodate because he had a trip with his family out of state. And then the second issue is that if you read it carefully, it just says a meeting has to be called, an initial meeting has to be called within those days. And our position is that an initial meeting was called. It was then terminated pursuant to the request under OMA, which we did, and then we posted notice of the meeting today. So,
Right. Well, because of the lack to do the agenda properly, that puts the next meeting outside that window. So that objection would be null and void.
I understand that, and again, we've just been handed numerous voluminous pleadings by you, which you have a right to have us review and respond to. But, you know, having us review these voluminous pleadings, which are handed to us 2 minutes before the meeting was called, and then respond within 9 minutes thereafter, is not reasonable or fair. So we'll repost, we'll make sure that there's a rules, if you'd like to be on the agenda, I think you need to make that request. And then we can move forward within 48 hours, but we'll post the exact time.
Well, I think that I would like to address one of my motions here that you have before you. And I'm just going to read it. State of Illinois, County of Shelby, before the duly constituted electoral board of the hearing and passing on objections to the certificate of nomination by caucus form SBE number H2 statute 10 ICLS 5710.2 filed by Brad Halbrook in Shelbyville Township, County of Shelbyville, and the State of Illinois in the matter of the objection of Robin Robertson to the certificate of nomination by caucus form SBE number H2 statute 10 ILCS 5710.2 filed by Brad Halbrook in Shelbyville Township, County of Shelbyville, Shelby, State of Illinois, to be voted on at the April 4th election. Motion to disqualify electoral board members. Now comes Brad Halbrook and respectfully submits this motion to disqualify electoral board members in relation to the objector's petition to the certificate of nomination filed by Brad Halbrook in Shelbyville Township, County of Shelbyville, and the State of Illinois, and states the following. Number
I'm
one.
gonna just stop you right there. This is a very long petition. I mean,
Excuse
it's
me,
going
Chairman,
on
point
6.
of order. Who
Just-
runs the meeting?
I do,
Thank you. Would you please run your meeting, sir?
sure. Continue.
Thank you. Number one, objector Robin Robertson submitted an objector's petition to the certificate of nomination filed by Brad Halbrook in Shelbyville Township, County of Shelbyville, and the State of Illinois. Number two, Section 10-9 of the Illinois Election Code, 10 ILCS 510-9, set forth members of the electoral board's disqualifications of those members and appointing substitutes for those disqualified. Three, Sections 10-9. Section 4 sets the township supervisor, township clerk, and the longest continually serving trustee as the officers of the township electoral board as such. The township officers electoral board to pass upon objections to the nominations of township officers shall be composed of the township supervisor, of the town clerk, that are eligible town trustee in the township who has the longest term of continuous service as the town trustee and whom that township supervisor shall be the chairman. Number 4, Section 10-9 also describes what constitutes electoral board's members' ineligibility to act, along with how to appoint substitute electoral board members. In the event any of any member of the appropriate board is a candidate for office and with relation to which the objector's petition is filed, he shall not be eligible to serve on that board and shall not act as a member of the board. In his place shall be filed as following. C. The township officers electoral board by the eligible elected town trustee who has the second longest term in the service of this town trustee. And in the event the chairman electoral board is ineligible to act on the fact that he or she is a candidate for the office in relation to which the objector's petition is filed, then the substitute is chosen under previous provisions in this section shall be the chairman. In this case, the officer or board with whom the objector's petition is filed shall transmit the certificate of nomination or nomination papers as the case may be, and the objector's petition in the substitute chairman of the electoral board. When two or more eligible individuals by reason of their terms of service on the city council or board of trustees, township board of trustees, or community college district board qualified to serve on an electoral board, the one to serve on shall be chosen by lot. Any vacancies on electoral board not otherwise filled pursuant to this section shall be filled by public members appointed by the chief judge of the circuit court in the county wherein the electoral board meeting is being held upon notification to the chief judge of such vacancies. The chief judge shall so notified by a member of the electoral board of the officer or the board of which the objector's petition was filed. In the event that none of the individuals designated by the section to serve on the electoral board are eligible, the chairman of the electoral board shall be designated by the chief judge. Number 5, objector's petition to certificate of nomination filed by Brad Halbrook lists every elected position in the Shelbyville Township, including but not limited to that of the township supervisor and township trustees. As stated in paragraph 4 above, if a member of the electoral board is a candidate for the office with relationship to which the objector's petition is filed, he shall not be eligible to serve on the board. Number 6, Shelbyville Township electoral board members and all its trustees are in fact candidates for the offices with relation to the objector's petition. The certificate of nomination filed by Brad Halbrook, therefore not eligible to serve on the board, to hear the objection. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, Brad Halbrook prays this honorable electoral board grant this motion to disqualify electoral board members in favor of Brad Halbrook and enter into the following decisions and perform the following acts. A, that this board disqualify themselves from hearing objector's petition to the certificate of nomination filed by Brad Halbrook in Shelbyville Township, County of Shelbyville, in the state of Illinois. And B, that this board disqualify all other township trustees. And C, that this board immediately notify the chief judge of the Circuit Court of Shelby County that no member or potential substitute member of the Shelbyville Township Electoral Board is eligible to serve. And D, that the board ask the chief judge of the Circuit Court of Shelby County to appoint public members to the Shelbyville Township Electoral Board and to also appoint the chairman of the Shelbyville Township Electoral Board from those appointed public members. Brad Halbrook, left 1272.
Well, it sounds like to me we have to let the court decide this.
What you just read is different than what was handed out, at least to Mr. Kaler.
There's two sets. There's one for Corey and one for me.
No, it didn't say what you were reading in. Was there a revised version? If you look at 5 and 6, it was different than what you were reading. So I guess I just want to make sure we have the copy of the actual motion.
This is for Corey's.
This is mine, that's mine.
There's
Oh, you're saying you read, it's just the same relief is requested, but you're the one requesting it versus Corey. Is that fair?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two sets of documents.
Okay, so you
One
and Corey,
addresses Corey's and one addresses mine.
okay, yours being the one at the slate and Corey's being the objection to him because of the residency requirement.
Yeah, he has a different set of objections to deal with.
Okay, so basically your position is that, and because we have the member here who has the second longest term.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure she should be asking the questions. You're running the meeting.
Well, State Representative Halbrook,
Please, I'm not state representative, okay? I'm the presiding officer, precinct committeeman
Okay.
of this Republican caucus.
Okay. I've never dealt with anything like this before in my life. It takes me a little while to absorb all the information. And I would just like to do the right thing for everyone involved. And if Liz has some questions to ask, I would hope that you would freely and answer them. We're not here to
Right.
argue or anything like that. We're just trying to get to the facts of what these objections were.
Right, and so my concern is, and statute and case law backs me up on this, well, that's why we have filed these papers and submitted them to you guys today, is because there's point after point after point, and I'll be happy, and I want to read these motions throughout and enter them into this record so that we understand.
I understand.
Okay? Because we're dragging this on, we're gonna get outside of the statutory time limit, and it's going to hamper the voters' ability to make a decision about who they choose to vote for. The window will tighten up as we move
I
forward.
understand that, and we're trying to do everything we can to get that done. There's just a few simple questions to be asked, and it'll be over. We've never done anything like this before in our lives. We're trying to do the right thing, like I say.
Okay, so based on what I read to you in this motion, how would you like to take action on that this morning?
Well, I'd like to proceed, and if it's legal, to proceed and ask exactly the questions to Mr. Wells and to you.
Okay, so we're discussing my motion at this point, and I can go through every one of my motions piece by piece, and we can do the same for Mr. Wells. But I think as we present them one by one, we need to take action on them one by one.
Well, I don't know what those actions would be.
To respond to my request for relief stated in the motion that's in the paper before all of you.
So you want it to go to court?
I want you to take action here, however that you see fit. You're the chairman, you're the electoral board.
I thought you just said that we weren't qualified to be the electoral board.
At this point, I presented you with proceedings here that you need to take action upon to do something with.
I'm not a
Okay,
lawyer.
so you just have to say, okay, we take action. I'm not gonna tell you what to do.
Right.
But it's in there that says this is what we need to do. That if you are disqualified, you have to decide how to do that. You have to probably take action upon that.
Well, I would say then, if you're saying that we are not qualified to be here and represent the township, then we'll let the court decide.
Well, Steve, but you're also allowed to have a conversation with your counsel. I mean, this is an
Yeah.
open meeting. You can ask me questions, and I can certainly ask Mr. Halbert questions, and he can
Okay.
choose to respond or not
Do
respond.
you have any questions?
Well, on the motion to disqualify, I just want to understand the relief that they're requesting, because with all due respect, again, having been handed it now, 13 minutes ago, we're doing the best we can to understand what their position is and what they're asking for. So I understand that irrespective of the fact that the agenda doesn't have a rules line item, then Mr. Halbrook does want to have a hearing and a ruling on his motion to disqualify electoral board members. Is that fair?
Restate that, please.
I said irrespective of the fact that there's not rules on the agenda, because of timing purposes, you want to have a hearing and a ruling on your motion to disqualify that you just read.
Right, I would prefer that it be rules adopted prior, but we're running out of time here.
I understand that, we just
Okay.
want to all be on the same page here.
And to that point, you guys have to decide whether you take action, how you take action on this motion.
Right, so that's correct. You want us to move forward and have a hearing and rule on the
So
motion.
if, depending on the outcome of that, whether it moves forward with this board or before a judge, then you have to decide all that.
Okay, so yes, you want us to move forward with having a hearing on the motion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then, to me, there's two parts, and I know he won't give me a copy, so I guess I have to.
What do you want?
I need his motion, all I have is Corey's.
Will this help you?
Which one's
No, that's not it either. Yeah, here it is. So this motion, I thought it had two parts to it. One was a request, oh no, that's Corey, sorry.
Are you guys recording this meeting for yourself?
No, we thought you were.
Well, I am.
Okay. And so you're not making an allegation, as is in Corey's motion, that there is some prejudice. That's not in yours, correct?
No,
Okay, so yours is simply the technicality as it relates to the fact that the electoral board consists of people who are running for the same office at issue in your slate.
right,
Okay,
That's the prejudice.
yeah, there's prejudice and bias in that.
Right.
That's why that provision allows.
it's a
for the
little
new-
bit different argument than what was in Corey's about commentary made by alleged
Right,
commentary.
but it's the
Okay.
same bias, the same prejudice.
Which, right, I understand the argument. So then, the reading of the law would be that you would look to the person on the township board that had the second longest tenure. Is that fair?
Right, but it also alludes to the fact that if they're all on the ballot or all candidates, then they're all disqualified.
Right. So, okay, so let me take one more look at this. So the only person on the electoral board that is not at issue would be Steve. Is that fair?
Right, and I think
You
the
have to have
statute
three.
reads and the case law says that if two or more
Right.
are in that situation, they're all disqualified.
Just let it ring, Butch.
So I think that if you look at the section cited where it states that if a member of the electoral board and a candidate for the office with relation to which the objector's petition is filed, he or she shall not be eligible to serve in that board, that we all know that the second objection filed, which is on the agenda for today, has to do with an objection to the entire slate because of the form not being completed. So I think that there are two options that you have. One is that you can deny that second objection.
Sorry about that.
Well, actually, let me strike that. If the second objection is withdrawn, then I think that the issue of the electoral board being disqualified based upon the law cited would not be an issue, and that motion could be denied. If that second objection is not withdrawn, and Mr. Robertson wants that second objection heard, again, that being the objection to the entire slate because of the form not being completed as required, then I think that the law is well cited that the electoral board cannot consist of people who are running for the same offices that are at issue in that objection. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
So I guess I'd look to Mr. Robertson and ask, are you standing firm on your second objection to the slate? Or are you going to withdraw the objection? Again, I'm just pointing out what I understand the complaint to be, or the motion to be for disqualification, and the disqualification is directly tied to the second objection, which then would disqualify the electoral board because these people are running for the same seats that are on that slate.
But then when the judge appoint 3 new members and we should have electoral board made up of township members.
Well, I think that if the only objection that remains is, and just so the camera, who are we talking to? I didn't catch your name last time, I'm sorry.
John Pratt.
Okay, John. So in the event that the only objection that remains is that the residency requirement of Mr. Wells running for highway commissioner has not been met, then I don't believe there would be a disqualification based upon the statute. But I did read again very quickly that in Mr. Wells's motion, the board would have to vote as to whether or not there's any bias or prejudice based upon certain comments allegedly made by and between Mr. Wells and the supervisor and the clerk.
Okay, I was talking about the comment that you said that the electoral board will be disqualified if he didn't withdraw. But the other thing is he could keep it there and then the judge would appoint 3 new members to the electoral board.
I agree. I think Mr. Halbrook cited the appropriate statute whereby in the event that the second objection remains as to an objection to the entire slate because of the form not being completed correctly, that although we do have the second longest tenured board member here, that he's on the slate that's being run against on the Republican caucus. So I do believe that you would have to, even though Mr. Schoaf is eligible to vote, I believe that if there are 2 or more that are enabled, then the circuit judge would appoint people within the township to fill those spots.
Okay.
So Robin, do you want to go ahead and stand
Yeah.
firm?
Okay,
I do want to
so
thank
Mr. Robertson is reporting that he's gonna stand firm with his second objection, he's not going to withdraw it. And so I think that the board should vote on whether or not they should be disqualified, and then a request be made to the circuit judge to fill the electoral board with members of the township that are not on the Democratic slate.
Right, whatever.
Right, so we need a,
Or the Republican slate, either one.
correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, which just happens to be the Democratic slate, because that's who we have here, but you're
Okay,
exactly right.
yeah.
No one on any slate would be
Right.
able to be on the electoral board for
Well,
those
this is new
reasons.
to us, that's why I'm asking a question.
Oh, it's a very unique issue, yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that a roll call of the electoral board here as to
Sure.
whether or not to grant or deny the motion to disqualify is appropriate. Say it again.
You're trying to take an action item that's not on the agenda.
I understand that, and we could completely ignore Mr. Halbrook's motions because they're not on the agenda. He didn't ask to be placed on the agenda.
As far as placement, I'm not gonna quander that, but you guys set the agenda and you can only take action on items that are on an agenda.
So your position, and again, for the record, who are we
My
speaking?
name is Kirk Allen.
Yeah, so Kirk, your position would be that we just ignore all the motions filed
No,
because
that's
they're not on
my
the
position At
agenda?
all.
Okay.
That's a legal proceeding. I mean, if you're asking my opinion, for the benefit of the chairman, I would have a recording for future judicial review, because it sounds like this is going to the courts. Right now, you have no court reporter, no recording, no nothing of these proceedings.
Well, we inquired of you guys at the last meeting specifically as to whether or not you would be here with your recording, and you said you would, and so we did not make alternate arrangements, and a court reporter is not required.
That's fine,
Our
well, we
report
got
has
it.
nothing to do with
Yeah,
the
no,
vote.
I understand that, but we had specifically asked, and we were told, yes, we will be here, we will be recording, so we didn't make alternate arrangements. But that's really off topic.
My
Mr.
point
Halbrook
is-
has asked us to go ahead and rule on his motion because of timing purposes. And he's here, the objector is here, both objectors are here. The electoral board is here. We could continue it yet again. All of us are sitting here, you know, we published our notice. We had no idea that these motions were gonna be filed. The goal of this board has always been to be above board and to make sure we have an expedited resolution as to what they want. So he wants us to rule on disqualification. And there's certainly no prejudice if we grant the motion to have the electoral board themselves disqualified so that we could get hold of the circuit judge and have someone appointed and start moving through the process of having this heard.
I understand that.
I understand what you're saying, that that it's not on the agenda, but we didn't know it was gonna be filed.
There's also another option, you could give the paperwork to the circuit judge and say, here's what's gonna happen. We got a meeting Thursday morning at 9:45 to rule on this, motion. And at 9:50, you should appoint new members and then have another meeting scheduled for 10 o'clock or whatever the time frame.
Right.
With the new board.
I'm just not sure, I mean, again, I haven't heard from them yet, but if it's a unanimous vote in favor of granting the motion, that means it's agreed. It means there's
Yeah,
no
okay.
contest.
I
So I
got
don't know, it may be an exercise in futility to have the judge rule on what the movant and the respondent all agree to.
Yeah.
But again, we haven't done the vote yet.
Okay.
Okay. We need a vote to see about if we're going to allow Robin.
No. Robin's standing by his objections. So
Okay.
all that we have here, in my opinion, based upon all of our conversations, is whether or not there's whether or not the motion to disqualify electoral board members filed with Mr. Halbrook is gonna be granted or denied
Okay.
by the three of you.
Okay. You want, that motion, you wanna rule first?
Well, I'm not sure I really understand.
So the only issue that this is, Ron, is Mr. Halbrook is stating that the second objection filed by Mr. Robertson
Okay,
is that the entire Republican slate should be, the objection should be granted and the slate basically removed because the form was not completed correctly, okay? That second objection puts at issue every single person on that slate. Those people are running against you, if it's allowed, and Mr. Spessard. And so the law he's pointed out is if the electoral board consists of people who are running against the people at issue in the objection, that you're disqualified to act on the electoral board for the hearing on the objections.
I agree.
Do you understand that? You
Yes.
agree with that? So
Yes.
you would have the motion to disqualify granted and the court appoint 3 new people for the electoral board within the township that are not running against anyone on any of the
Sure,
caucuses.
I agree with that.
Okay, is that a fair
Well-
summary?
Yep.
Okay,
I agree with that.
so to grant the motion, we do, okay. So we'll show the motion filed by Mr. Halbrook to disqualify electoral board members as granted, and then we'll need to give notice to, it'd be Judge McCaney, well, Chief Judge of the Circuit Court, although it's within the county, so we'll give it to Judge McCaney and our resident circuit Judge Bennett. And we'll give that
Okay.
notice today, and then we'll copy you on it. What I anticipate is probably, I'm just reading the statute now. It just states simply that the judge will be notified by a member of the electoral board. So I anticipate a letter, probably being faxed and hand delivered, because Judge McCaney is out of Fayette County.
Can we do that because we're not qualified to be the electoral board?
Well, I understand that, but it says a member of the electoral board. I mean, the one that's, you currently technically are.
You are.
Yeah,
Right, and then we'll explain to the judge and give him a copy of Mr. Halbrook's motion and the fact that the motion was unanimously granted by agreement of all parties, the movant and the respondent, and that we'll request that there be a designation of replacement members of that board.
Okay.
And then we'll get that out today. Is there anything else that you would like to address or have heard today? Knowing that we've done that.
Yeah, I think I want to take time and read all these motions into the record. Does anybody have objection with that?
Well, they can't hear it.
They can't hear it. Okay,
Well,
They
we
haven't
can,
voted on anything yet.
right.
what we can do is we can place the motions of record, and if you want me to, I can certainly send those to the judge as well, because they are pending, and they're gonna go before the new electoral board anyway, so I think that's appropriate. Because the new electoral board's the one that's gonna have to vote on your other motions, this board will not.
Right.
Right.
So you're acknowledging everything that's, I need to get copies of that stuff too.
So yeah, so we'll send copies of these to Judge Bennett and Judge McCaney, because they're the ones that are gonna be making new appointments, so the new board will need to have copies of them to make the ruling.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions or?
Comments from anyone? Inquiries? We're doing the best we can, we wanna get this,
First time we've seen this one, this is,
us too.
We've never been through this.
In regards to, so that takes care of his whatever his objection was. And as far as this gentleman, you guys are still gonna hear that, correct?
I don't think so. I think what just happened is, well, actually, we never heard Mr. Wells's motion to disqualify. So I don't know if the court will have two different electoral boards, or if they'll have a new electoral board take care of both objections.
I think they will do.
That's my
The
guess,
new
is
one
the
with
court's
both
probably
of
gonna
them,
have the new
yeah.
electoral board take care of it from here going forward. I mean, for the record, I think we should point out that we didn't hear Mr. Wells's motion to disqualify. There's certainly no admissions of any prejudice or bias by this electoral board. We didn't address the allegations in his motion about certain commentary made, but in my opinion, it would all be moot anyway, because the new electoral board would consist of 3 members of the township that have had nothing to do with any of these caucuses anyway.
Okay.
So I think that's a clean slate and a good way to move
If I
forward.
could make a suggestion for, I guess it's gonna be for the attorney, because when they appoint a new board, I'm assuming you would be the attorney for.
I don't think we should make that assumption.
Well, with the agenda, what I did notice with this was you had to hear the objections and act on them, but you gave no opportunity for rules, as he had mentioned, and any submissions of anything, or hearing an objection to the objections,
Or public comment.
or public comment. And if you could include those in an agenda, it alleviates a whole lot of concerns.
My understanding is, and feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong, but that public comment can be allowed at any time at a
Yes,
public meeting without it being on the agenda.
Correct.
But I think we can
And
all
that's what you're
anticipate.
doing today.
Right, and that's why we've had
And I-
public comment.
And I do appreciate that, and I hate to continue to interject and say, Chairman,
This is a learning
If it-
process for us.
I understand, if it's on the agenda, the public would know and I wouldn't have to interrupt, and I apologize for interrupting, but by having it on there, it lets the people know when they have an opportunity to present anything they need to present to the public body.
This board in the past has usually allowed the public comment to come in throughout the meeting rather than at just certain portions.
No
But
problem.
but there may very well be a much more formal agenda next time. We'll just have to see. The board is, like Steve has said, trying to handle it informally, above
Well,
board. We
My
want
hat's
to,
off to you, you've done a great job with
Thank
that.
you.
thank you so
So you're
much.
saying all the motions that I submitted to you will be passed on to the judge?
That is correct. I think I'm thinking that the one you've filed is going to be moot because you've asked for disqualification of these 3 and
That's right.
they've just stepped down. So I think that would probably be moot, but we are going to be forwarding those onto the new electoral board. Yep.
Okay,
Any other questions or anything?
okay, thank you for everyone coming today. I
Thanks.
close the meeting. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
The far cry from the Bloomington Commission.